My brother called me a thief. In front of our mother's entire church group at her kitchen table, loud enough that the neighbor's dog started barking through the wall. And honestly, part of me, the part that's been losing sleep for 6 months, isn't even sure he's wrong. Okay, back up. My name's not important. What matters is that I'm 34, my brother Declan is 31, and our mom, her name is Vera, had a stroke 18 months ago. Not catastrophic, but enough. She walks with a cane now, she forgets words mid-sentence, and she absolutely cannot manage her own finances anymore. She used to run a small bookkeeping business out of her house. Numbers were her thing. Now she calls me panicked because she can't remember if she paid the electric bill, and some months she hasn't. When the doctors made it clear this was the new normal, our family had a meeting. Very official, very tense, the kind where everyone brings coffee they don't drink. We decided that Declan and I would both be added to Mom's primary checking account. Joint access. That way either of us could cover bills, handle emergencies, make sure nothing fell through the cracks. Declan lives 40 minutes away. I live 8. I want to be fair about this. He works long hours, he has 2 kids, his wife works nights. His life is genuinely complicated. And for the first few months, the arrangement more or less worked. I handled the day-to-day stuff. He'd check in, ask questions, occasionally transfer money in when the balance got low. We were a team, that's what I told myself. Then, around month 4, I started noticing withdrawals I didn't make. Not huge amounts at first, $40 here, 60 there. I figured maybe Mom was pulling cash for small things and forgetting to mention it. That felt plausible. I let it go. But then it was $200 on a Tuesday, then $350 the following Friday. I called Declan. Yeah, I borrowed a little, he said, just like that. Borrowed. Not I took some for Mom's prescriptions or I covered her copay. Just borrowed. From Mom's account, I said. It's a joint account, I have access. I asked him what it was for. He said he'd had a rough month, a car repair, something with his kid's school. He said he'd put it back. I said, okay, when? He said soon. And I let that go too, which yes, I know. But soon never came, and it happened again. Over the next 2 months I tracked it. 11 separate withdrawals, almost $2,000 total, none of it going toward Vera's bills, her medication, her groceries, her account, her money. And every time I brought it up, Declan had a reason. A real one, usually. Something I couldn't just dismiss. His daughter's hospital visit. A disconnect notice on his own utilities. He wasn't living large. I genuinely don't think he's a bad person. That's the thing that kept making me pause. But Mom's balance was sitting at $83 when I realized her rent was due in 4 days. I called Declan that night. I said, this has to stop. You cannot keep pulling from her account. He said he knew, he was sorry, he'd handle it. I said, I need you to put back at least 1200 before Friday. He said he didn't have it right now. I said, Declan, she almost didn't make rent. He went quiet, then he said, I'll figure it out. Click. He didn't figure it out. I covered Mom's rent myself. $340 I didn't exactly have either. And the next morning, I went online, called the bank, and had Declan removed from the account. I didn't tell him first. I didn't give him a warning or a deadline or a chance to respond. I just did it. And then I texted him, I took you off Mom's account. When you're ready to talk about paying back what you borrowed, I'm here. The response was not a conversation. It was a wall of text I'm still not sure I've fully processed. He said I'd gone behind his back, that I'd treated him like a criminal, that I was power hungry, that I'd been waiting for an excuse to push him out of Mom's life, that this was classic me, controlling, unilateral, acting like I was the only one who actually cared about Vera. He said the account was joint for a reason, and I had no right to make that call alone. And then, and this is the part that got me, he called our mom, before I could. He told her what I'd done, and apparently she cried. She called me that afternoon and said, very quietly, I don't want you and your brother fighting over me. Not he was wrong. Not you were right. Just please don't fight. Then came Sunday, Mom's church group. I showed up to help her with lunch, which I do every week, and Declan was already there. He looked at me and said, in front of 6 women in their 60s and 70s, here she is, the one who decided she could just take whatever control she wants. One of Mom's friends literally gasped. I didn't yell, I said, I protected her account. He said, you protected your position, and I didn't have an answer for that, not a clean one. Here's what I keep turning over. Did I have the right to do that alone? Legally, yes. Morally, I genuinely don't know. He was wrong to take the money. But I also know that removing him without a conversation was a nuclear option. There's a version of this where I gave him no chance to fix it. There's another version where I waited too long already and Vera almost got evicted. Both feel true. A few weeks later, Declan reached out. Not an apology exactly, more of a request to start over. He said he'd pay back what he owed in installments. I said I'd think about adding him back to the account once I see the first payment. He hasn't sent it yet. So that's where we are. Mom's bills are paid. Declan and I are barely speaking. And every few days I ask myself the same question. Was I protecting my mother or was I punishing my brother? Because I'm not sure those are different things. And I'm not sure I did it for entirely clean reasons. I know what it looked like. I know what he thinks it was. I can't figure out where my legitimate grievance ends and my need to be the one in charge begins. So honestly, am I the problem here? Honestly though, what would you have done? Comment below.